G'day there and welcome to Tim's Board Game Reviews, episode 23. In this episode I'll be reviewing Maharaja, the game of palace building in India. The game is for 2 to 5 players and takes about 90 minutes to play. As the game suggests, the game is based in India and each player takes on the role of a Raja. And they are attempting to impress the Maharaja by building lots of palaces and temples in the cities that he visits. The person who impresses him the most in the city that the Maharaja visits earns the most gold as a reward, and players then use this money to build more houses and palaces in other cities. The goal of the game is pretty simple. The first person to build 7 palaces wins the game. So let's see what you get inside the box. Get an 8-page colour rule booklet, a game board depicting a portion of India, individual player discs used for choosing your actions each turn, some useful reference cards that are double-sided, gold pieces, some extra action tokens, wooden houses in each player's colour, glass palace beads in each player's colour. You're in a race to be the first one to place 7 of these onto the board. An architect piece in each player's colour, a Maharaja piece, character cards that players can benefit from each turn by choosing, governor pieces that are used to determine which city the Maharaja may be visiting next. This is what the game looks like set up ready to play for 5 players. At the start of the game, the player board is placed onto the table when each player takes an action disc, their palace gems and 4 houses of their player colour. They also grab a rules summary card and 15 gold pieces from the bank. Their remaining houses are placed off to one side. Players' architects and the Maharaja are placed onto the starting city location. The character cards are placed off to one side of the game board and the governor pieces are shuffled and randomly placed onto the governor track. The game is now ready to begin. Each player now gets to choose one of the character cards. These cards give the owner the use of a special power that includes things such as the trader, which earns you 1 gold, or the artisan, which allows you to build a palace for 9 gold instead of 12. Then, before the first formal turn commences, players take turns in putting down 4 houses onto village sites across the board. The importance of this is that you cannot build houses or palaces in a particular city unless you can move your architect to that city, and the architect cannot move unless it is moving along roads that have occupied villages along them. If your architect moves through a village which contains one of your houses, he can move through that village for free. Otherwise, he must pay 1 gold tax for each foreign house he moves through. Players now take 6 more houses from their supply and place them into their pool. Only houses from your pool can be placed onto the board. The game now goes for up to 10 rounds of play. Each round has 5 separate stages. In the first stage, the Maharaja is moved to the city at the bottom of the governor track. This is the city that will be scored at the end of this turn. The governor at the bottom of the track is now moved to the top of the track. This keeps track of the current game turn, and it will be a number of turns again before the Maharaja visits this city, if at all. Players then use their action discs to secretly choose 2 actions. There are 9 actions to choose from. I won't go through all of them, but some key ones include the option to build a palace for 12 gold or a palace and a house, move a house, get 2 gold, swap your character card with someone else, or move one of the governors up to 2 spaces down the governor track, which will change the order of the cities visited by the Maharaja. Once everyone has chosen their actions, the person with the lowest numbered character card flips over their disc and undertakes their action in any order that they like. As part of a free action, they can move their architect around as much as they like, provided it moves through villages with houses in them and that they pay for moving him through non-friendly villages. A player's architect has to be present in a city before the player can build any houses or palaces in that city. If you took a bit of a risk or perhaps didn't plan very well and weren't able to complete both of your actions, each other player gets to take 2 gold from the bank, so you really need to plan carefully. Also during your turn you get to take advantage of the special power due to your character card. Once all players have completed their 2 actions, there is a scoring round. The person with the most presents in the city where the Maharaja is located receives the highest amount of gold from the Maharaja. The player's presence is calculated by working out how many points you earn in the city. You get 3 points for having built a palace in the prominent central spot, and 1 point for all other palaces and houses, and 1 point if your architect is in the city. Any ties are split by the person who has the lowest numbered character card. Play proceeds for up to 10 turns, or at the end of the turn when a player has built their 7th palace. If more than one person builds their 7th palace in the same turn, the tiebreaker is the person who has the most money. Therefore, somewhat unusually for a game of this type, there are no victory points or scoring tracks. There are a number of rules variants described in the rules that more experienced players can choose to include if they want to. So here are my ratings for this game. I give the components an 8 out of 10. They're all very good quality components, and the only shortcomings is the generic insert, which isn't all that good for storing the components. Luck would be low to medium. The only luck in the game is not knowing what actions have been chosen by the other players and how they will choose to implement them. If you're too ambitious, you can find that your best laid plans may become unstuck as someone chooses to do something different to what you thought they might have done. Rate the fun as medium. The game moves along at a fairly good pace, and secretly choosing your actions each turn is often full of delicious options to choose from. Complexity at rate as medium. Initially there are quite a few things to get your head around, including an understanding of the various actions and what all the character cards do. However, the useful player aid that comes with the game helps to reduce how much you need to remember. Rate the depth as medium. There are a number of different strategies that you can try to deploy, and you need to give serious thought in planning your 2 actions for each round. Give replayability medium. The game will feel quite different each time due to the random order that the governors are placed in, and the different character cards that you can choose to use will be different each time. Overall, I'll give this game an 8 out of 10. It's certainly a solid game that is perhaps a little forgotten about despite it being highly regarded by a lot of people. It has some interesting elements that require careful decisions, and it's refreshing to play a game that doesn't have victory points. So it's been a while, but I hope you've enjoyed this review. I believe this is the first video review of this game, so that's why I've done it for you. So I hope you enjoy it, and until next time, see you later. Bye for now.